We'll reconvene the special meeting. Mr. City Attorney, is there any final action to report out?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Yes, there's one final action to report. The City Council will approve settlement in the Lim Watson versus Folsom lawsuit without admission of any fault.
Thank you very much. We will adjourn the special meeting and call to order the regular meeting a little early tonight for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yeah, council members Leary. Here. Raythel.
Here.
Rohrbaugh.
Here.
Kozlowski is not here momentarily, and Aquino. Kozlowski will be joining us.
Here, if you'd all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, obviously we're having a little bit of issue with the heater tonight, so go ahead and snuggle up with your neighbor if you get cold. Mr. City Attorney, any agenda updates?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. We have additional information transmittal for items 5, 16, and 17 on tonight's agenda. A copy have been previously provided to you, and they are also available on the table in the back.
Okay, great. That takes us to business from the floor. This is the public's opportunity to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Please remember, we are not allowed to take action or deliberate on items that are not on the agenda, but we're happy to hear your comments. If you would like to speak at this time or on any item on the agenda, if you please fill out a blue speaker card on the back table, hand it over here to Officer McCullough. We will call you up at the appropriate time. We do have a very, very long meeting ahead of us, so if we could please respect the 3-minute time limit, we would greatly appreciate that. Any requests to speak from business from the floor?
We do have one request to speak this evening from Gary Qualsett. Gary, come on down.
Good evening, Gary.
Hi, good evening. Hello, honorable city council members. I'm here to speak to you about the city doing a transient occupancy tax or TOT increase rather than a tourism business improvement district tax or TBID increase. My name is Gary Qualsett. I am a CPA and I was an officer of the No on G fight against the sales tax increase measure. And before you hold out all of that against me, I sure wish I had known about a TBID increase proposal that was going to be on the last city council meeting agenda. I sure have liked to partner with the person that spoke in opposition to the TBID increase at the last meeting, that being Mr. Finnegan, also a CPA, how ironic. And he was a supporter of Yes on G. On this one, I think that we can make a great team to get a TOT rather than a TBID increase on the hotel room bills that visitors to our great city pay for us. Here's a few points on why a TOT assessment increase is better. It's not paid by the residents of Folsom. It generates direct revenue to offset the projected budget deficit of the city. With a deficit of over $3 million per the last budget presentation in June, a TOT would cover 42% of that shortfall, with a projection of $1.275 million in annual revenue. People seem to say that a TOT increase is small, but it wouldn't have a small impact on reducing the city's budget deficit. A TOT is not a special money interest grab. A TBID is. A TOT is a city revenue that goes to the general fund for broad-based use and can be focused where needed from year to year by the city rather than to a specific restricted special interest purpose to benefit the hoteliers in Folsom. Any use the special district would propose for a TBID, the city can already also do with the increase. TOT funds are directly city controlled and don't have to be negotiated for use for business industry. A vote on a TOT increase would pass in a landslide on a ballot, as it has in every other jurisdiction that votes on one. It's an easy sell to the public. We pay it in every other city that our Folsom residents visit a hotel in. Why not have our visitors pay it here? The Folsom T-bid rate is already on par with other local jurisdictions. The TOT is not. The Folsom TOT hasn't been raised in over 40 years and is significantly lower than other jurisdictions in the area and in the state. If a TBID is increased, the city is then tying its hands on doing a TOT, as the overall hotel tax will have already been raised to similar levels as other local cities. Thus, from a market perspective, the city won't be able to seek a TOT as a source of general fund revenue for the city.
Gary, I need you to wrap it up, please.
I will, thank you. I request that you table and withdraw the intent to move forward on a TBID increase and instead have staff prepare a report for a TOT increase. Thank you for your time
you.
and consideration.
By the way, you said you weren't aware it was on the agenda. Do you get the city clerk's emails for what's going to be on the
No,
agenda?
I haven't signed up for that, but I look occasionally, but I was out of town.
All right,
on
I'm
family
going to reach out
business.
to you and get your email address so we can get you on the distribution list.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Mayor, do
Yeah.
you mind if I comment
Sure.
on that? I really appreciate the comments that were shared about the TOT versus the T-bid. One of the things that was considered from a staff perspective is there are pros and cons related to either of those situations. But what we did look at is the timing of this. So if this was a in perpetuity increase, I think staff would have had, some pause or more of a pause in considering this option. But the fact that it's going in alignment with the current T-bid term, that the council would have another bite at the apple in a few years when that expires. Stacy, do you remember, is it 2032? Do you remember? I can't remember.
Gosh, that sounds right, but I'm not.
So in some sense, it would give us time that over the next few years, if this were to move forward, the council would have the opportunity to revisit that. So anyway, but I would also welcome the opportunity to meet with you to kind of share more background and to learn more about what you're sharing, so.
all righty, thank you very much. That takes us to our consent calendar. Is there anything that anybody wants to pull, or do we have any requests to speak from anyone?
No requests from the public to speak on consent items.
Was there anything that anybody wanted to pull?
I'll move the consent calendar in total.
Yay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary,
Yes.
Rathel.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes, thank you very much. Call the next item, please.
Okay, your first public hearing this item is going to be ordinance number 1359. This is an ordinance amending sections of chapter 17.104 regarding inclusionary housing for calculating in lieu fees applicable to residential development and to incorporate non-substantive chain or cleanup revisions for clarity and consistency and determining that the project is exempt from CEQA. This will be introduction and first reading of the ordinance.
Thank you. Good evening, Desmond. And I am going to ask my colleagues if we can all maybe agree tonight to do our best to hold our questions until the end of every presentation, just so we can get through this large agenda as expeditiously as possible. Take it away, Desmond.
Mayor Aquino, members of the City Council, Desmond Parrington, Planning Manager in the Community Development Department. I'm here before you tonight to talk about proposed changes to the inclusionary housing ordinance and the inclusionary housing residential in lieu fee study that was prepared by Economic and Planning Systems for the city. Amy Lappin, who's a senior principal with Economic and Planning Systems, is here tonight and will be joining me in this presentation. In terms of the presentation, we're going to talk about the overall project context, why we opted to do a nexus-based fee methodology for this, key findings and results from that, as well as some alternative approaches that were considered based on feedback that we received, and then next steps and staff's recommendations. So in terms of the context, the city's housing element required us in program H9 to update our inclusionary ordinance, to essentially to do a study of our inclusionary housing fees, to evaluate the fee levels, look at funding gaps, and improve our overall in lieu fee methodology. So as I mentioned, we hired Economic and Planning Systems to do a comprehensive study of the ordinance and our fees. One of the main drivers behind this was the significant amount of staff time that goes in to calculating the in lieu fees. They're based on 1% of the sales price. Now, one would think that that's fairly straightforward, but the reality is when folks pay or pull their building permits, developers often don't yet know the price of the homes because they're just about to start construction on their model homes. So as a result, we have to get a market study. We have to evaluate that market study, make sure that the prices are consistent with what they should be for our area. And then we have to manually enter those fees into each building permit because they vary by subdivision. In addition, we have to annually check those fees every January to make sure they haven't gone, or the sales prices every January to make sure they haven't gone up or down by more than 10%, resulting in a change to the inclusionary fee. Right now, we currently have about 75 different inclusionary fees, depending on covering all the different subdivisions throughout the city. So the proposed in lieu fee methodology uses a nexus study. Now, we're not required to do a nexus study. Those are for impact fees. This is what's called an in lieu fee. You're paying this fee in lieu of actually constructing the affordable and deed-restricted homes. But it gives us a much stronger legal standing if we can point to a nexus study that we've done that analysis. This approach simplifies significantly the administrative work that staff has to do because it bases it on a per square foot. It sets the fee on a per square foot basis. And, again, we are not proposing to significantly change the fee, but to reduce the administrative burden. And we'll talk about how that fee is calculated in just a few moments. We're also proposing some amendments to Title 17, specifically related to the inclusionary housing ordinance. That's to remove outdated references. There's references, for example, to our redevelopment agency to improve clarity and administrative consistency, and then make sure that it's up to date with state law because we reference density bonus law has changed, things like that. So again, the idea here is to make this simplified both for staff, but also very transparent for the development community because they will know going into this exactly what their fee would be prior to even submitting for a building permit. So it provides that kind of upfront clarity. And then we're proposing to have it adjust with the market based on the construction cost index. So if construction costs increase, which means it's going to be more expensive for us to help do gap financing on an affordable project, then the fee goes up. If construction costs go down, then the fee goes down. We did a significant amount of public outreach on this effort. We had a workshop with the Planning Commission on September 17th, 2025. We also, of course, went back to them and they made a unanimous recommendation to recommending approval of this. We also sent out hundreds of emails to Folsom developers, residents, and businesses. We had 3 different separate meetings with the North State Building Industry Association, or BIA. And then we had 2 meetings and offered a third with the Sacramento Housing Alliance and Legal Services of Northern California. And then we've put all this information up on a dedicated web page on the city's website. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy, and she's going to kind of walk you through how the results of the study and how the fee levels are calculated. Amy?
Good evening, Amy.
Thank you, Desmond. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Amy Lappin, and I'm a principal with Economic and Planning Systems based out of Sacramento. So tonight I'm going to walk through the methodology and key findings related to the recommended update to the city's inclusionary housing in lieu fee. As Desmond mentioned, the purpose of this effort was to streamline the city's fee structure, improve transparency and consistency, and create a more predictable, easier to administer system that aligns with the city's long-term affordable housing goals. So the methodology does follow a nexus-based Assembly Bill AB 1600 development impact fee methodology, as Desmond mentioned, to provide a stronger legal backing to the fee structure. There are 3 distinct steps. The first being to determine the affordability gap, quantifying affordability gaps or the difference between the cost to develop affordable units and what income qualified households can support. The second step is to estimate worker households generated by new market rate units spending based on consumer spending patterns and employment patterns. And 3, combining these factors to calculate the maximum legally justifiable fee for each identified housing prototype. So I'm going to dive in a little bit and will be available after the presentation to answer more detailed questions. So for this study, we developed cost estimates for 4 representative prototypes active in Folsom today. Low and medium density single-family homes, attached ownership products such as condos and townhomes, and multifamily rental apartments. For each, we estimated development costs and compared them to what very low, and moderate income households can afford under HCD, or the Department of Housing and Community Development, and HUD, or the Department of Housing and Urban Development guidelines. Across all prototypes, affordable purchase prices or rents fell significantly below development costs, establishing substantial affordability gaps. And those are shown here on this slide. You can see the gaps between the supportable unit value for each of the 4 prototypes and the development costs to develop a particular housing prototype under the household income standards for Sacramento County under the very low, and moderate income categories. The next step is to determine affordable housing demand. This step estimates the number of income-eligible worker households associated with new development. So new residents support local employment in retail, services, restaurants, healthcare, and other industries. Many of these workers fall into the income categories identified by affordable housing programs. By linking typical household spending to local job creation, the analysis quantifies the number of very low to moderate income worker households attributable to each of the 4 housing prototypes. And this forms the demand side of the nexus equation. So this next slide provides a walkthrough between what the average sales price is, the household income required to purchase that, and then based on spending patterns and employment patterns, how many total worker households are generated per 100 market rate units, and then those are then distributed by income category based on typical wage structures. So then the final step is combining the affordability gaps from step 1 with the number of worker households from step 2 to compute the maximum supportable in lieu fee. We calculated the total subsidy required to support affordable units needed for each prototype and then divided by the average prototype square footage to yield a maximum per square foot fee. And this slide shows the existing example, because the existing in lieu fee is not calculated on a per square foot basis, as Desmond discussed. So we just used an example and calculated the per unit and per square foot basis for each of the 4 prototypes. The updated maximum, which you can see is extremely high, both on a per square foot basis and if we were to translate that into a per unit example. And then our recommended updated in lieu fee, which is about 10% or less of the maximum justifiable fee. And it equates to similar to, or actually in some cases for these prototypes that we identified, less than the average in lieu fee currently being assessed by the city. So you can see for single-family low and medium density, our recommended in lieu fee is $3 per square foot. The multifamily attached product would be $2.50 a square foot. And then you'll note that the multifamily apartments, although a maximum justifiable fee was calculated, we recommend continuation of exempting this product type, as is consistent with the current approach in the city. And I'll get to why in a second. So a large part of this study was examining financial feasibility. We wanted to make sure that we didn't inhibit the development of market rate housing, but still generated revenue for the city's affordable housing goals. So under the existing in lieu fee, you can see that the single family low and medium density prototypes appear to be feasible. The multifamily attached, so this is a multifamily ownership product, is on the margins. It's showing as slightly negative, but that's essentially a break-even finding. And then the multifamily apartments, even without an existing in lieu fee, so this feasibility analysis examined existing conditions, which, as mentioned, is multifamily rental apartments are currently exempt. So even without that, it's showing that there are some feasibility challenges. So clearly, under the updated maximum in lieu fee, every single prototype would experience feasibility challenges. So based on that, and based on discussions with staff about maintaining similar fee thresholds, our recommendation is to maintain a similar fee per square foot for the 3 prototypes in which the city currently applies an in lieu fee. So the 2 single-family ownership products and the 1 multifamily ownership product. And then to, again, retain that exemption on multifamily rental products. So you can see in the far right-hand column, the feasibility findings are very similar to the feasibility findings under the existing conditions. So now I'm going to walk through some key findings and considerations. So the study's findings support a balanced approach that advances the city's housing goals while maintaining development feasibility. A major benefit of the update is reduced administrative burden. Shifting to a simple per square foot fee eliminates subdivision-specific pricing checks and creates a clearer, more predictable structure for applicants. The analysis also shows that a fee can function as a policy tool. We have a section in the report where we look at peer jurisdictions, and I'll show you a summary of that in the next slide. But we looked beyond in the Sacramento region and then beyond the Sacramento region. And in both geographic areas, we noted that several jurisdictions tailor their fees to encourage certain product types or guide development patterns. For example, Santa Rosa charges a lower fee for smaller units to support the production of those types of units. City of Sacramento offers reduced fees in its housing incentive zone. So instead of promoting or incentivizing a specific housing type, like smaller housing units, they want to incentivize development in a certain area. So the city, that's something that the city could consider in future iterations of this. The feasibility results as mentioned, indicate that multifamily rental housing should remain exempt. And then indexing the updated fee to the construction cost index will help keep it aligned with construction trends, as well as periodic monitoring by the city of the in lieu fee program will help ensure that the fee continues to support policy goals without unintentionally hindering market rate development. So here is the local jurisdiction fee comparison that I was just mentioning. Compared to nearby jurisdictions, and I'll note that the first row in red is the recommended fee. So the Folsom's recommended fee falls within a reasonable middle range among jurisdictions in the region, somewhat lower than Sacramento and Sacramento County, and somewhat higher than Rancho Cordova and Elk Grove, although I will also note that EPS is assisting Elk Grove in reviewing and potentially updating their existing fee. These differences reflect program design choices and local housing market conditions, and Folsom's structure should remain competitive in the region. And thanks, happy to answer questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you, I'll hand it back over to Desmond.
One thing I just wanted to point out as part of Amy's presentation is that while it looks like the fee is going down slightly, it's the difference is because we're looking at a 2,600 square foot home. So the larger the home, the fee goes up. The smaller the home, the fee goes down. So we did a calculation, and based on the last kind of 5 years, this would result, if we had the new per square fee approach in place, this would result in a slight increase in the revenue coming into the housing fund. So based on the feedback that we got from both the Housing Alliance, Sacramento Housing Alliance, and Legal Services Northern California, as well as input from the BIA and the development community, we looked at a couple different approaches. Most of those were geared towards some of the issues that the BIA had raised. The housing advocates' main concern was ensuring that there wasn't an overall decrease in the amount collected for the city's housing fund, since they saw that as critical for gap financing. So we looked at 3 options. One was basically to outsource the administrative tasks, but to keep everything the same. We did explore that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find a lot of other jurisdictions that did that, nor were we able to find many consultants that were all that interested in doing that for us, given the complexity. The other option was to retain the current fee structure, but collect the fees, all of the fees at the first certificate of occupancy. While that would eliminate the administrative burden, it was understandably not particularly attractive to the development community, because at their first certificate of occupancy, everything would be due in terms of all their inclusionary fees or the in-lieu fees. And then the other option, and this came from a concern about how that the concern over home prices, in that, a 1,500 square foot home or a 3,000 square foot home is not double the price of a 1,500 square foot home. So why should the fee be per square foot be doubled, going from why the fee would increase, because then that increased substantially, because in that example, at $3 a square foot for a 3,000 square foot home, you're looking at $9,000 in it for an in lieu fee, versus a smaller home that's 1,500 square feet, you'd be looking at $4,500 or less. So the concern was, well, our sales prices aren't double, so why should your in lieu fees double? And we looked at kind of doing a reverse sliding scale that would make adjustments for those larger homes. The issue that we found with that is that larger homes actually generate more in the way of the need for generate more low-wage jobs and more need for affordable housing. So it would actually contradict the findings that were in the Nexus study. So based on that, we ultimately decided to stick with our current recommendation, our current approach, because it eliminates the administrative burden. it moves with the market in terms of the construction cost indexing mechanism. And it's predictable, and it's something that the development community can know in advance before submitting their building permit applications. And then we have it backed by a nexus study, which shores up the kind of the legal standing of it and provides additional protection for the city. In terms of next steps, obviously this is before you tonight. This is the first reading. The second reading would go on January 13th. At that time, we would also bring forward a resolution setting the fees. And as you saw in the example, we would be recommending $3 a square foot for everything but homes less than 1,500 square feet. Those would be charged at $2.50 a square foot. And the reason for that is based on the feedback we've gotten from council that kind of first-time home buyers, smaller homes, and condos and townhomes, which kind of better meet the needs of first-time home buyers, would be something that we would incentivize. As Amy explained, we're not proposing to put it onto multifamily rental products because of the fact that there's almost a $40,000 gap right now between what they can get in rent and what it costs to construct those units. The reason we did propose putting it forward on multifamily attached projects like your townhomes, condos, is because the ones that are being built in the city, primarily down in the Folsom Plan area, are selling for a price that's only affordable to upper income households. So the folks that are earning a moderate income, over like around 120,000, they still cannot afford these types of homes. The max they can afford is about 400,000, but the prices we're seeing are 550 and up in the Folsom Plan area. So assuming that you approve this item tonight and on the 13th, then if that was the case, then this ordinance would go into effect on February 12th of 2026. We would, of course, communicate that out to the BIA and to the rest of the development community so that they're aware of the changes in the fees. That concludes my presentation, and the recommended action is before you tonight. Myself and Amy and Stephanie are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Desmond. Questions for Desmond, Amy, or Stephanie? I'll start with you, Vice Mayor Raethel.
Yeah, I think my questions are probably for Amy, but I can just get started and to let you guys figure that out. My first question is really the prototypes, the 1,000 square foot multifamily rental versus the 1,500 square foot condo. When I read the report, based on what you're presenting, most of your differences come down to the size of that unit. Did those come from any averages of what we're actually building? Because I'm not sure we're building too many 1,000 square foot apartments here in Folsom.
They did. We have a list of comparable projects, I think both in Folsom and maybe in the broader region, but primarily in Folsom, that helped inform. And we also had multiple conversations with staff to make sure that, and with stakeholders. We conducted our own stakeholder outreach with both market rate and affordable developers and ran those assumptions by them as well.
If somebody, and I'm just looking at, if somebody lived in a 1,500 square foot rental unit or bought a 1,500 square foot condo, would they need substantially different income, or am I looking at a very, very equivalent type of person? Is there a big difference between the rental market and the for sale market on what my disposable income is at the end of the day? Because I look at the impacts and it's like within $1, right? So if you maybe go back to that slide, because I think you're calculating the impact to not be any different. Let's go back a little further here. And maybe I'm misunderstanding what the numbers are. Let's go back a little further.
That was it.
Oh, sorry. There was one about, that was like $34 a square foot was the maximum calculated in lieu fee. That was the impact. There it is.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 36 multifamily attached I'm looking at your report. I've got 34 for single family attached. That updated maximum in lieu fee is kind of like a corollary to what the impact is, right? That's why it's much higher.
It is,
Okay.
yes.
So it's pretty similar. It steps up for multifamily attached, but there's not a differentiation between rental here and for sale, right?
Well, you need a down payment and you need a certain monthly income in order to qualify for the owner-occupied multifamily product versus the capital outlay on a monthly basis for the rental product. It's much less.
Okay, but am I reading that? That's the 3401 would be, is that for a rental family?
It
Or
is.
that's for a rental family? That's the
Yes.
impact. Okay. And it's also for the for sale family. That's the impact that we would expect them to have on the need for affordable housing.
Yes.
That's what that number represents.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, it's based on these three steps, which is the affordability gap for those particular prototypes, and the number of worker households generated by the spending of the households in those particular prototypes.
Okay. And then the neighboring jurisdictions that we have, from what I can tell from the report, it looks like most of them are charging their square foot fee for your rental products also.
Some are, yes, but some are not.
Okay. Do we know which ones, do we have that? I know the ones way outside of our area I'm not too interested in, right? But the ones that are close to here, it looked like our neighboring jurisdictions are charging for a rental multifamily product. But you're saying
Yes.
some of them are not.
I will say that Folsom is one of the few that has an in lieu fee program. And when the in lieu fee program was established, multifamily rental was not allowed to be charged.
Understood.
The peer jurisdictions that we looked at have a development impact fee, and there was no such limitation for that. So they did adopt a fee. Some of them did adopt a fee assessed on multifamily rental products.
Okay. I think that's, and these changes, I guess one other question, these changes are not just for the Folsom plan area, these changes are throughout Folsom.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Councilmember Kozlowski?
Yeah, my question is kind of about the edge case on the requirement to charge these fees at all. I know that we have an interesting history of how we arrived here in the first place, but is there, and I'm thinking, serving at SACOG, that we're coming up on arena cycle sooner rather than later. We have these requirements to stimulate or create the opportunity for low-income housing of various stripes, but is there actually a mandate that we have a in lieu fee program at all, and to what extent?
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of a broad question, but I feel like that might be an interesting underpinning for the public to understand.
So the current inclusionary housing ordinance, which includes the in lieu fee, was the result of a settlement agreement from a lawsuit back in the early 2000s that the city lost, and then we were required to put that in place. Jurisdictions are not required to have inclusionary ordinances, but they have become, particularly with the housing element cycle, a critical tool in terms of providing gap financing on affordable projects, or buying land to develop affordable housing or other things like that. It's one of the few mechanisms that we have to help support the construction of a deed-restricted affordable housing in Folsom. And this has become even more important with the decline in federal funding and then the limitations that the state has given the state's budget problems.
Gotcha. Maybe this question is for the city attorney. Have we satisfied that settlement agreement in other respects, and is this a perpetual requirement that we will live under for all time?
It depends on how one reads the settlement agreement. I would say it's ongoing until something changes. This is something that the city
There
council
wasn't
has.
a target number
There
of
was-
units or conditions
No, no,
to
no,
reach?
there was a time frame. So the city council has already satisfied the time frame requirement, and the city council has continued over the years by implementing the general plan, including updates to include inclusionary for practical reasons, practical reasons, because it's not just the settlement agreement that's part of the consideration. It's the RENA and our ability to meet the state's repeated mandates over years.
If we were a jurisdiction that hadn't started down this road because there had been no settlement, we in some ways wouldn't have any hook from the state to force us to
We
meet the
might.
RENA requirements?
We might.
In terms of
Accept the money.
subsidizing construction rather than
Yes, sir.
creating
Yes, sir.
conditions.
Yes, sir. And it could actually take the money out of the general fund to help the city head off any enforcement action from the state.
We always have the option to spend our general fund in a lot of ways. Are you saying that the state would mandate that we do that?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying is the trend is concerning. The state has established, I don't think this is recent, I think it's a year or two ago, enforcement units. So this is something that the state is hammering local jurisdictions to make sure that we or they exert as much pressure as possible on local jurisdictions to allow affordable housing to be produced. They know and we know we do not build, but they want us to incentivize, and this is how we incentivize affordable housing construction.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure that fully answered my question because I'm trying to just get down to the base level of if we feel like we've met the settlement agreement at some time and we recognize that the bulk of the responsibility to the RENA process is to make sure that there is land available for the type of development that's desired, is there a state mandate for us to also act as a tax collector and financier of construction on that land?
The answer is no.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That's all I was
no,
trying to.
The answer is no, but
That was all I was
practically
trying to-
speaking,
yeah.
it's not so simple because the pressure is from elsewhere.
Yeah, I get that. Listen, the work that was done here is excellent. I just wanted to back up a couple of steps and make sure we understand the base case for why we're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rohrbaugh, any questions? Councilmember Leary?
Oh, I just have one question, and that was the, when you put up the slide showing the average cost, you know, the cost for the various municipalities. Were all of those an average as well?
Well,
Or is that a hard question to answer, given the?
so no, it's based on the prototype. So it's a 2,600 square foot prototype. And so that's why it was used. What I was trying to point out, and maybe didn't do a good job of it, but is that since we have $3 a square foot, it's not going to mean that every house pays $7,800 in an in lieu fee. It will depend on whether it's 2,600 square feet or whether it's 3,000 square feet or whether it's 1,600 square feet. So the fee level will vary based on, so that's just a representative snapshot based on the 2,600 square foot prototype.
So homes in Rancho Cordova that are 2,600 square feet are significantly, have a significantly lower fee.
So this was from some time ago, and it was negotiated, and it's one specific plan. There are multiple specific plans in Rancho Cordova. It's the Rio del Oro specific plan, and it was done quite some time ago. So that's, that's the explanation for that situation. And then Davis, of course, is quite the outlier here with the 21,000 square foot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. We do have a request to speak.
Yeah, we have one request from Martin Novinsky. And Martin, while you're making your way down, we have two requests from you, but both identify item 15. Did you just want to speak on one item?
No, two items.
What was the other one?
I don't remember the other.
Well, you can let me know afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the minor administrative modification
Okay.
for the school district.
Got it. Okay,
That's
thank
the
you very
second
much.
item.
So I can call you back up again.
But go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Yeah.
Mayor Aquino, council members, thank you for having me tonight. Here to talk about the inclusionary housing ordinance. I walked in a little bit late, maybe I missed this, but the whole reason, in my opinion, that this is going on is I think the city has been making some fiscal policy changes recently to become more efficient, to live within your means a little bit better, and I think this is staff's opportunity to try to make themselves more efficient. I think the staff has done a good job explaining how burdensome it is for them to administer this program. We're part of this program. It works for us, but it is administratively burdensome. It is for us as well. I heard Desmond say that it's sometimes difficult to even collect information from the builders, except for one. I believe that you will get that reinforcement from them that there is one builder that does participate pretty well. So from a practicality standpoint, I think that becoming more efficient is a good thing. And I think your staff's done a great job of being very transparent and doing outreach and keeping the development community informed of this process and what they're going through and listening to our concerns and everything. Basically, there's three options that you have before you. Option one, keep it the same but outsource to some other company to administer. That's a fee increase. We pay the same amount of fee, but then we'll also have to pay for the outsourcing administration fee, so that increases our fees. The second option was to collect all of the money at their certificate of occupancy, which is the first closing, if you will, in a subdivision. And the reason we don't like that, if we had a 100-lot subdivision and we had a 3,000 square foot house, it's $9,000 per house. So you would collect $900,000 before we closed escrow on our first home. That's fiscally very burdensome, and what I would envision is that I wouldn't come in with 100-lot subdivisions anymore. I'd come in with 10-lot subdivisions 10 times in a row. And as your Public Works Director and City Engineer can attest, there's quite a bit of work that goes into a final map, and that would, I think, increase the administrative burden on your staff again by tenfold. So the second option doesn't really work for us either. The third option is going to a flat square foot fee of $3 per square foot. And I think the city's done a really good job of trying to keep the fee about the same of where it is. The city's collected quite a bit of money. We're in favor of lessening the burden on staff, which helps us. It helps us for forecasting what our fee will be before we step into it. And if a city's going to consider one of the three, Toll Brothers would support option number 3, the square foot, $3 per square foot price. And thanks for your time.
Thanks so much. Any other requests to speak?
We have no further requests to speak on this item.
All right, then we will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
Just a quick clarification. Option number 3 was not the staff recommendation. That was to have a caveat of changing the sliding scale for larging homes.
Yeah, that's correct. But yeah, the recommendation before you is to go with the per square foot basis with, which we expect to be about a $3 fee.
Got it. Perfect. I'll kick us off. I've said it multiple times from the dais. I don't think it will come as a surprise to any of my colleagues. I'm not in favor of these fees for sale condominiums and townhomes. I think we need more starter homes out there, and I think although the study might show that all of these prototypes are financially kind of at the cusp, our experience has been a little bit different here in Folsom. We've had a lot of units that were built here. And I understand there's a lot of moving pieces that go into these studies. But when I look at it, I think of what are we trying to incentivize? And I don't think disincentivizing or incentivizing rental units above for sale units is what I want to see for our city. If it is a 1,500 square foot attached multifamily project, whether it is a luxury apartment or whether it's a condo, I don't want to encourage that builder or that developer to make it a rental project versus making it a for sale project. And so I'm totally fine with transitioning to a per square foot fee. But my real challenge is how do we lessen the impact? And I'm fine with them for single family homes. That's been there. We're staying within that same rate, but really that section in the middle of the multifamily projects is where I'd like to see what you guys' thoughts are on just removing the fee entirely for those tranche of projects. Or alternatively, and this is maybe a little tougher with EPS's analysis, making the rental projects pay that fee like our other neighboring jurisdictions. So I think my first preference would be to go with the multifamilies not being charged our inclusionary housing fee and try to make some more of this naturally attainable housing attainable here in Folsom.
So you're saying that you would agree with staff's recommendation except take out the multifamily?
So right now they're saying $3 a square foot for single family, and correct me if I'm wrong, Desmond and Pam, but $250 per square foot. There was a little bit of discount given to the multifamily projects in recognition that council, mostly me, I'll take the blame if anybody wants to throw blame. Mostly me has said, hey, we really want to incentivize more of the condo and townhome projects to go forward. So I would take that $250 and bring it to $0.
Desmond or Pam, you want to respond in any way?
Yeah, so a couple things with regard to that. So as we explained with the rental product, we didn't want to put the burden on it because it's not financially feasible at, with about a $40,000 gap between what they can get in rents and what they can get or what it actually costs to build. With the multifamily for sale product, when we look at the townhomes and we look at the duplexes or the halfplexes that are being sold in the plan area, those are even with the $250 fee per square foot fee, they are financially feasible. They're right at that break even point, as Amy pointed out. And they're also selling at considerably more than what a moderate income household can afford. So that's why we elected to keep the fee in place, because if they're selling for $550,000, as an example, that's considerably more than what a moderate income household can afford, which is about $415,000. So because it's yet another product that caters to higher income folks, we are able to use, we're proposing to put that money or collect that money and put the in lieu fee on that project because it doesn't impact the financial viability of that project, but it does then give us money that we can then use to, whether it's buy land or for affordable housing, or do gap financing on affordable projects, or support a project like the Habitat for Humanity project. So that's kind of the reasoning behind we went with that approach.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So when I reviewed this with the staff last week, I made the suggestion, because I hadn't really thought it all the way through, that, and honestly, I might be chasing a product ghost a little bit, but the thing that's seems apparent is that nobody builds a house detached that is anything less than probably 1,600 or 1,800 square feet nowadays. And that is not going to be affordable to the group that you're talking about. So, in days gone by, there were brand new tract homes built on small lots that were 1,000 or 1,200 square feet, and people sort of grew into them and expanded them over time. That may not be a feasible product, but I think if we were going to put a floor where we eliminated the fee, perhaps it's just for any product that meets this moderate income price range. So if somebody does come forward with a product that they can sell at that moderate sales price, and again, it may never happen, but if they can hit that, let's at that point eliminate the fee on those projects or on that product.
And I
to
get,
help it along, because if they're, teetering just on the edge of doing it, maybe we can incentivize it without having to transfer the money all around and track it in the same way.
and I
That
get
might
that.
meet both of our objectives.
Yeah, and I think that's an approach to take, right? I don't think these are that far out of the range of your moderate income folks, right? Maybe we're talking about 130% of AMI instead of 120% of AMI. To me, why are we disincentivizing them, right? That's just my view on it is I don't think we need to add an extra $5,000. It looks like all the projects are marginal, and we really have to take into account. Trying to take into account like our lived experience, right? Like, hey, here we are. We've had a really hard time in the city building condos and townhomes. You know what we haven't had a hard time building? Luxury apartments. The EPS study can say, here's what the conditions are right now. That is a snapshot in time where we're living with really high interest rates. And these projects are quite pricey. And they're probably, suffering from this temporary period of really high interest rates. That's my guess. I don't know. I'm not the economic consultant, but that's my guess, right? We're just looking at a single snapshot in time. And I think we're now making policy for the next 5 to 10 years based on that little snapshot in time.
Okay, well, we can debate what interest rate effect is on the price of housing in the United States. I think it's opposite of what you're suggesting, but I guess my just recommendation is based on a couple of things. One is that I'm looking to try and incentivize people to build market rate housing that can meet that that middle that's missing, but also recognizing that the credit that we get for it in the RENA activity is different if it misses by $10,000, right? If it actually is moderate income, we get to take credit for it. If it's moderate plus $10,000, we don't get to take credit for it. So if we can, help that along, it saves us the trouble of finding other projects that do in fact meet that moderate price range. So that's my suggestion.
Would someone like to make a motion for us to consider?
I have another question,
Yes.
please. Thank you. It seems to me that there are some things that need to be worked out here before we vote on this, the way that it's set up. And is staff have any ideas about how to implement what Vice Mayor Rathel and Councilmember Kozlowski are saying, that where it could, I'm having trouble putting all of those pieces together, plus these three options that have been presented into something that is workable, that would incentivize people to build the smaller housing products as well, because other areas are building them. And there's state laws that are also impacting the ability for people to build condos, and attached housing for sale. So that's another piece of that puzzle that we can't solve with this.
I do have a suggestion for making a motion on this that could serve both purposes. And I'll see if you guys care to take it. So my proposal would be that we do in fact approve the staff recommendation, but ask them, because we have the luxury of being able to change this again, and nobody is going to come complain if we reduce fees, that we ask the staff to take one more look at a floor of some sort to try and incentivize that missing middle type development that hits the RENA mark for moderate income at a later date.
Yeah. And
that would be my proposal.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, so what we can probably do is exactly what Councilmember Kozlowski indicated: introduce and conduct first reading of this ordinance, and direct staff to come back with a formula or some kind of exemption provision to be inserted into this new ordinance.
At some future date.
Because you talk about exempting certain products.
Yes.
So it will be exemption section that
Well,
could be added.
it could be exempted, or it could just, right now, staff is already recommending a lower fee for these products, right? So that's the recommendation that staff is giving. I'm just saying a 50-cent discount on a 1,000 or say 1,500 square foot, we're talking about a $750 discount on your $5,000 fee, right? Am I roughly in the ballpark there? So I'm saying instead of staff's recommended $750 discount to incentivize this project, we give them a $5,000 discount to incentivize that project. But the other way we could look at it is what's the maximum square feet, right? My only concern around doing hey, you're exempt up to 1,500 square feet is then we have this like kind of cliff, right? Whatever we calculate the moderate rate to be, all of a sudden we don't see any more 1,500 to 1,700 square foot.
I'm suggesting that we tie it to sale price rather than, so we kind of do both things. Right now, we have it tied to sale price.
Okay.
I'm saying that for that particular product, we tie it to sale price, and if a developer comes forward and can demonstrate that they're going to meet that sale price range, that gives us credit for moderate income housing, that we then provide a discount of up to 100% on the fee.
Can I make a comment in here?
Yes.
I think it's clear that, I know that Sarah has also articulated this, I have as well, and you two did as well, and Barbara, you highlighted it, that we want to encourage condos, and I think staff knows that that's a priority of this council. So maybe coming back next time with how can we do that? How can we incentivize it? If it's tied to the fees or not, I won't know how to do that, but you will. That is something I think that we need to prioritize this next year. And so I'm, we've heard a lot about this particular agenda item, or I'm sure every other council member has as well. But one of my priorities consistently since the beginning was to deliver our portion of any development process or product in a timely and obviously accurate, but timely manner. And it's something that we've talked about in the last several years. So I guess I'm inclined to vote for this because I think that this will help us deliver exactly what our community has been asking for, developers have been asking for, and also this council has been asking for a more timely manner. So this falls in line with one of my priorities, and that's why I think I'm going to support this. But I also agree with what you guys are saying. How can we get better at incentivizing condos and homeownership in that way?
All right. Would you like to make a motion?
So my motion is to approve the staff recommendation and to ask the staff to look at other incentives for moderate income housing that we can institute at a later date.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have one more question to ask here. So would you be okay with still allowing some, kind of a fee structure, even for those smaller units, rather than eliminating, a $5,000 contribution to the
I'm looking for the
funding?
staff to come back with a recommendation because as I started my comments, we may be chasing a ghost. Toll Brothers may not be interested at any point in building that particular product, and it will come to nothing. But I want the staff to take a look at that.
Well, yeah, and I would hope there are other developers that may be looking at that kind of product.
There may or may
well.
not be.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and it's a real struggle. So I just want to make sure that we're being fair to ourselves in terms of being able to have money to purchase land and support other projects like the Habitat for Humanity.
All right.
Okay.
We have a motion.
So
Do we have a
second.
second? We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Is the intention to bring the changes back for the second reading?
No. Oh, a later date. My motion is to approve the first reading.
Got it.
Have it come back on its regular schedule so we can do the final reading. And then at some point over the next few months to get a new presentation of tinkering.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Leary,
Yes.
Rathel,
No.
Rohrbaugh,
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes.
Okay, the motion
And
passes.
We do have some folks from the school district in the audience, so I'm going to move things out of order a little bit. Madam Clerk, would you please call item number 20, please?
So we're going to jump to new business item number 20. This is resolution number 11512, approving a minor administrative modification request from the Folsom Cordova Unified School District to modify the Folsom Plan Area Specific Plan land use designations and residential unit allocation for designated parcels to accommodate the relocation of a planned middle school site to a location adjacent to a high school site.
Okay. Bear with me, sorry, I'm just, okay, sorry. My apologies, there's some technical difficulties with opening one of the. Okay. We're having an issue with the school district's PowerPoint.
Should just be a.
Yeah, I know, it's this computer, I think.
Sorry, Jessica, I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
Maybe I'll just describe it. Like,
Yeah, we'll do staff's presentation, and then in the meantime, I'll try and get this issue fixed. So I'll turn it over to Jessica Brandt, Principal Planner with the Community Development Department. I'll go behind this. I'll go behind the scenes and see if I can get it fixed on my computer back upstairs.
The superintendent can present through interpretive dance.
I think it's coming up, Jessica.
Here we go.
I think you got it. Okay.
Just a
Sorry.
suggestion.
I've actually never had an item moved on me like that before.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was just being
sitting
nice
up
to our
there.
friends from Folsom Cordova.
Yeah, no, it's great. Okay, so good evening. Jessica Brandt with Community Development, and I'm here to present the request from Folsom Cordova Unified School Districts for a minor administrative modification to the Folsom Plan Area Specific Plan to relocate a planned middle school site. And as you heard, we do have a representative from Folsom Cordova here, and they will have, hopefully, an applicant presentation as well. So Folsom Cordova's request is to relocate the middle school site in the Folsom Plan area, and that requires a change to the specific plan land use designations for the two subject sites, and a transfer of development rights between the parcels, both of which can be accommodated for a public, quasi-public use like this through a minor administrative modification. And so, kind of to get it on record, the specific changes to the specific plan are as follows. The existing middle school site, which is about 22 acres, would be changed from public, quasi-public to single-family high-density land use. The proposed middle school site, which is about 15 acres, would be changed from single-family high-density land use to a split of 11.75 acres of public quasi-public and about 3.93 acres of single-family high density. In addition, to accommodate the request, 85 residential dwelling units that were allocated to the proposed middle school site and 4 residential dwelling units from another residential site would be transferred to the existing middle school site to retain consistency with land use residential density requirements and the overall unit count allowed. The Folsom Plan Area Specific Plan includes policy language and criteria for considering a minor administrative modification. Just to highlight, policy 4.24 states that all public quasi-public sites may be relocated or abandoned with the minor administrative modification process. The land use designation of the vacated site or sites will revert to the lowest density adjacent, and in no event shall the maximum number of plan area dwelling units allocated in the specific plan be exceeded. Section 13.3, which is administrative procedures, states that administrative modification that are consistent with and do not substantially change the overall intent of the specific plan, such as minor adjustments to land use, parcel boundaries, land use acreages, may be approved, provided 7 specific criteria are met. I'm not going to go through all 7. The main one here is that the general plan land use pattern remains consistent with the intent of the specific plan, that the backbone infrastructure network is not substantially altered, and that the proposed modification doesn't increase environmental impacts beyond those identified in the plan area EIR. The proposed modification also needs to offer equal or better development capacity. And then specific to this request, relocated school parcels must continue to meet standards for the type of school proposed and remain within walking distance of residents that they serve. There are also additional criteria for transferring dwelling units that mirror these ones I discussed. So Folsom Cordova will provide additional detail in their presentation, but this slide provides a summary of their vision for the combined campus that would result from the move of the middle school site. Their vision includes improving communication for staff, articulation of instruction across grade levels, sharing facilities that may not otherwise be available to middle school students, maintaining a safe and cohesive campus, and then meeting the district's goal to provide a timely and cost-efficient school complex. Staff reviewed Folsom Cordova's request and have determined that it meets all applicable plan area policies and the required and minor administrative modification findings. Briefly, the proposed relocation is consistent with plan area policies in that the middle school remains near residential neighborhoods, and because Folsom Cordova will provide campus facilities that meet state law, the needs of plan area residents, and that will not burden Folsom residents outside of the plan area financially. The relocation does not modify the general land use pattern of the specific plan. And again, Folsom Cordova may talk about this, but a combined high school, middle school campus was actually originally proposed for the Folsom plan area. And so this goes back to that model. Further, Folsom Cordova provided a study that demonstrated that the request would not require significant alteration to the roadway network or result in any additional significant traffic or other environmental issues. Finally, the relocated site remains within a residential area and reduces the acreage needed for the middle school from 22 acres to 12, increasing service efficiency. So with that, staff is recommending that the council move to adopt resolution number 11512, approving Folsom Cordova Unified School District's request to modify the land use designations and residential unit allocations for the designated parcels through a minor administrative modification to accommodate the relocation of the planned middle school site. This completes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions now that I've caught my breath. As mentioned at the beginning, Craig Rouse, Director of Facilities, Finance, and Planning with Folsom Cordova, is also here as the applicant representative and has prepared remarks as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. You're going to get to go home earlier. That's the good news. Come on up, Craig.
To get it? Okay.
There's a PDF issue with this thing.
Any questions for staff
Any
before we
questions
bring
for
up
Jessica?
Cordova? Super.
All right.
Here, Greg, this is advanced forward and back, and then there's a laser pointer right here. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, we do? What is that? Yeah.
Good evening. Craig Rouse, Executive Director for Facilities Development from the Folsom Cordova Unified School District. I apologize for that.
New to the job.
Oh boy, that's not a good start. And we really appreciate the opportunity to come speak tonight regarding relocating this middle school site. And we have a few slides here to kind of add on to what was just presented by staff. We'll be talking about the new middle school, Folsom planning area, and relocation of the middle school site. Uh-oh. Go that way. Okay. In this presentation, we'll be talking about the relocation need, identify the purpose, adjacent high school, middle school sites, easing the grade level transitions as they move from 6th, 7th, and 8th into the high school, the holistic student development, and then the status of where we are in the design development and moving into construction. In 2017, that's when this first started. The original school site really had some limitations with the accessibility and the topography that really made the site too expensive to explore to go forward. And based on that, assessment that came back, the district had to look at splitting these sites and look at a new location for the middle school. And we had the support from the landowners and the city to try and look at another location. And a minor administrative modification of man was approved by the city for this purpose. And then in 2025, moving forward, an effort to achieve the original vision of the combined high school, middle school site, the district went back and started talking to the city and the landowners to see if there was an opportunity, as we saw earlier, about combining the two sites and moving it over to have the additional 15 acres to have them on one site. And this is why we're here tonight, is to see if we can get approval for the MAM, and that's what we're being presented. So the site's initiative design maintains a distinct physical separation between the two campuses. So even though they're combined, they're really set up so that they're separated. Schools will be structured in a way that there are clear lines of supervision from the principal and vice principal's offices in the joint administrative building to the respective middle school and high school campuses. The middle school students and high school students will be housed in separate areas of the campus, but still have a period of time to be sheltered from other students while transitioning into their new environment. Some of the advantages of having the adjacent high school and middle school site combined. One is cost. The cost to build a school is about $1,000 a square foot. It's really escalated, and the cost escalation has just gone through the roof. By combining the sites, having joint use buildings really helps with the overall budget of a project of that size. It provides the students more flexibility. The younger students can take upper level courses. Students get comfortable with their surroundings being on one campus. Better articulation between the staff and different grade levels, ability to maintain connections as they move from middle school to high school. And then the collaboration between the two staffs as they share the admin building, opportunity for them to work together and share information as the middle school students transition into the high school. Resources, by having the combined middle school and high school site, they have more access to fields and campus resources. And then student safety and security is maintained in all areas of the campus. The middle school and high school students will have no common areas where they mix and very limited opportunities to interact. And they won't be unsupervised as they go throughout their day. So as we ease into the grade level transitions, each grade level transition creates exposure to and interaction with more students, different teachers, and new surroundings. The goal is to streamline and ease them into the transition to minimize anxiety and reduce isolation for the students by fostering a more positive educational experience. Students will strive to adapt and recreate their identities in their new surroundings. There is a need to establish environments where students feel comfortable and safe, and then provide services and spaces that connect the students and engage them in the education process. So as our architects design these campuses, they really implement these talking points here into the design so that students do not feel isolated and threatened if they're crossing over the campuses. So the status of the high school and middle school project, and this is all dependent on the home sales and development of the build out where we're at and funding availability. We're currently in the design development. We have completed the schematic design phase. And then the proposed high school start date is in 2027. That's phase 1 of the high school. And then based on funding and availability of the home sales, phase 1 of the middle school is scheduled to start in 2029. Any questions?
Thank you, Craig. I actually do have a question. If one of the advantages of doing a combined middle school, high school campus is cost savings, why does your schematic show double the athletic facilities? It seems like that is a natural area where you just have one set of athletic facilities that both schools could share.
You got to think about the size of the schools. Oh,
I can answer that one. We have a single set of athletic facilities at Vista Del Lago, and there is almost no time when they are not in use already. So having a complementary set is almost essential to run regular sports programs at the high school level nowadays.
thank you.
You're welcome.
He's the
'Cause
track
I
coach.
was about to make a suggestion that you actually, if the opportunity presents itself, actually flip the two tracks, the stadium and the middle school track, so that they're adjacent to each other, because there are no facilities at a high school where there's an opportunity to have a track meet in a stadium and a warm-up facility as good as what you're showing adjacent to it. The only place where that exists is at Sac State. So that would be a fantastic place to host a track meet if you were to put those a little closer to each other.
We'll take that in consideration.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Questions over here?
Yeah. My one question is there still the 6, 7, 8 combo for the middle schools? You know, there's that's gone back and forth where, you know, sometimes middle school 7th and 8th, sometimes it's 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yes, there are.
So is that the current status for most students, or is that still an option? You know, that some kids stay in elementary.
All middle schools are 6, 7, 8.
Do any of the elementary schools have sixth grade anymore?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And you also had mentioned something about sheltered from other students, and I wasn't sure what that referred to. You mean that there's no interaction between?
That
high
was
school
really
and middle
focusing
school?
on the interaction between the high school students and the middle school students, and have that separation in the campus.
And is that basically a fence, or how?
No, it's a line of vision where the students will not cross across. There is a main pathway that they can, it's a learning pathway that goes throughout both campuses. But right there at the admin building, it's split where the middle school students will stay on this side of the campus, and then the high school students will stay over here, and it's going to be basically supervision, keep them separated.
And one other question is about the pickup and drop off, which is always a challenge at every school from elementary through high school. Is that going to be shared, or will that be a split site?
It'll be split. Both campuses will have their own pickup and drop off.
On different streets?
Same street.
Same street.
Different times. So there'll be different times, you know, dropping off, picking up. That'll have to be worked out. But there's two separate areas where they're dropping off and picking up.
Because
Absolutely.
traffic safety and management are really difficult around all the schools.
Absolutely. And we
at
have
that
been
time.
working with the city on that, on how that's going to, the traffic flow, and if there's going to be lights or roundabouts. We're still in that design phase on how that's going to impact drop off and pickup.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have one request to speak from the public on this item.
Okay, Martin Novinsky, come on down.
Hello again,
Hello.
Martin Novinsky, Toll Brothers. We have a ownership and controlling interest in the properties immediately adjacent to the east and immediately adjacent to the north of this proposed site, the combo site. And we have been working with the school district to do some alignment of infrastructure and help them out with a little bit of their design. And just for the record, want the council to know that Toll Brothers is in full support of the minor administrative modification and combining the two schools together for, you know, there's a lot of things that they said, but I think that cost difference, putting the two schools together makes a lot of sense, and we're in full support, and I just wanted the council to know that Toll Brothers is in full support of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. No other requests to speak? No. All right, then we will entertain a motion, please.
I'll move resolution number 11512.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Larry,
Yes?
Raythel.
Yes.
Rohrbach.
Yes.
Kozlowski. And Aquino.
Yes, thank you all for coming. Next item, please.
Okay, that takes you back to old business item 16. That is, you have 10 more items to go, Madam Mayor. So item 16 is going to be resolution number 11522. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Romo Studios for the fabrication, installation, and construction of the Johnny Cash Trail Art Experience project, and this includes acceptance of grant funds and appropriation of those funds.
Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, city manager, Tom Hellman with the Parks and Recreation Department. So tonight I'm going to give you some background to the Johnny Cash Trail Art Experience project. That's work that spanned over a decade. I think as staff has come and gone, council members, commissioners have come and gone, this project can get lost with where we've come from to where we are today. So the next set of slides will give you some information, but at the end I will be requesting action from the city council to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement to add another art experience on the Johnny Cash Trail. So tonight, this resolution before you is to authorize the city manager to go into a professional services and consultant agreement with Romo Studios for a not to exceed amount of $279,730, which will be used by grant funding, which I'll explain a little bit later, for the fabrication, installation, and construction of Hello, I'm Johnny Cash on the Johnny Cash Trail Art Experience from California Department of Parks and Recreation Budget Act of 2023 grant funds and acceptance of those grant funds and appropriation of funds this evening. So on November 30th, the Arts and Culture Commission met, shared this information with them, and they are providing a recommendation to you this evening to move forward with accepting of the California State Park grant funds, as well as to develop that professional services agreement with Romo Studios LLC for the fabrication of the second art experience on the Johnny Cash Trail. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. And I'll explain a little bit more about this art experience in a later slide. A couple things related to this project as it relates to the City of Folsom strategic plan identified in economic and community development. We did a 2024-25 priority update to it where we developed the funding and sponsorship plan for the Johnny Cash Trail. Part of this planning also identified that 15% of all traffic related to the Johnny Cash Trail website and information about this project is stemmed from outside of the United States, where 55% of the traffic is domestic traffic wanting to find out more information that is stemming from outside of California. So there is both a national and an international draw to this project and what is going on with it. In addition, our 2024 Parks and Recreation Department annual report shared that we had over 173,000 visitors on the Johnny Cash Trail, and those are your walkers, your bikers, your cyclists, and those types of folks that do use that trail on a regular basis. So this map is shown in our master plan, which was approved back on September 11, 2018. The master plan identifies the art experience of the selected artist that is provided on their proposal. These art experiences that you see are their concept pieces that they included within their proposal. The trail is roughly 2.4 miles stemming east to west, has one park site, two beautiful pedestrian bridges, Robbers Ravine Bridge, Johnny Cash Trail Bridge. It also has trail easements through the California State Prison property, as well as Bureau of Reclamation property and City of Folsom property. Of the 8 experiences you see there, 2 of them are not on the City of Folsom property. That would be the one to the far east, Cash's Pick, up by Folsom Lake, and also the Ring of Fire, which would be on the Folsom Prison easement property. The other remaining project sites are on the City of Folsom property. So dating back all the way to 2013, the city released an RFQ that garnered 32 interested national artists. In 2014, the council passed a resolution adopting the art design concepts that were selected from the artists. And then in 2018, the Arts and Culture Commission passed and made a recommendation for approval for the city council to move forward for the 2 guitar picks that will indicate the entrance and end of the trail. And then also we executed an agreement with Romo Studios for the casting of Cash's Pick number 1. A few years later, we came back and passed another resolution to increase that compensation for the casting of Cash's Pick number 1. And then most notably on November 21st, that first pick was installed on the Johnny Cash Trail. In July of 2023, Assemblyman Hoover office notified staff of a selection of a $425,000 specified grant for the art experience project on the Johnny Cash Trail. And then in January, we completed that strategic funding plan that we talked about. and we presented that to the city manager and the Parks and Recreation Commission in April. Then in April, we had the city council approve the submission of the grant funding for the second art experience on the Johnny Cash Trail. And in September, we began meeting with Don Romo, the artist, to discuss the next art experience. Throughout all of this, we were in communication with the Bureau of Reclamation about that second PIC site, in which they notified us in October that they would be denying that site license because they do not allow monuments on federal land. We since then looked to move to a new art experience site, and so we modified our project awareness with California State Parks for that granting, and we received approval in November to move that project from the Cash's PIC over to Hello, I'm Johnny Cash as the second art experience site. So the funding for this project for Hello, I'm Johnny Cash, again, was identified in the California Budget Act of 2023, thanks to Assemblyman Josh Hoover for that submission for the specified grant funds. We have until December 31st, 2026 to spend the $425,000. We have an art fabrication and installation cost of not to exceed $279,730. The remaining $145,000 of that grant money would be used for the site work that we will work with our landscape design team to look at what we can provide at that site. And I'll explain the site in a little bit. So this is the proposed art sculpture, Hello, I'm Johnny Cash, that Romo Studios would be fabricating. This is a 6-foot-tall sculpture of Johnny Cash sitting on a stool with his guitar, reminiscent and symbolic of his historic Folsom Prison concert that he performed here in 1968. It is made of bronze, roughly 4 feet wide. It would be a realistic look and image of him, but again, as the concept piece that you're looking at, the artist does have some creative abilities as he's beginning this process to make some changes to that, and all of that would be defined within his professional services and consultant agreement scope. The art experience site itself sits just to the west of the Johnny Cash Bridge. So it is on City of Folsom property. What's also nice to note is the area here is already paved in concrete. We did paving up there already of concrete that's there, so there's no need to come in with additional flat work. We would be looking at the site to see what would be needed because there is quite a drop off here, so we would need to put some sort of wall, or what's proposed here is a small concrete bench with a small riser wall there. For that, but we will work with our landscape design team to kind of figure out what's the best use of the available funding in order to streamline this project and provide that. Much like at Cash's PIC number 1, we would also look to include the bike racks as part of all of our art experience installations, since we have a large cycling community in use of this trail. And then we would look at what other materials could be done or added there based upon the cost available and the available funds available to us for that. So that would be something we would be looking to in addition to separate from what I'm asking of the council this evening. Again, I want to take this moment just to give thanks to Assemblyman Josh Hoover, who has been instrumental from the beginning in securing these grant funds for us, but also in support as we work through the processes and a little bit of the hurdles to get to where we are today. He provided this wonderful letter of the importance of this project and wanted to see it come to completion. So I just wanted to give him thanks for all of his support for that. And then finally, just to ask you for the recommendation of authorizing the city manager to execute a professional service agreement. Again, this is not to exceed $279,730 in grant funding for the fabrication installation of Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. In addition, the acceptance of the grant in the appropriation of funds. With that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Tom? Tom, I'll start this side. Councilmember Rohrbaugh?
No.
Councilmember Leary? No. Councilmember Kozlowski?
Is what's depicted on there the similar sort of record imprint paving immediately around the statue? Do you imagine doing that again? Like
No.
the PIC?
Yeah, good question though. So no, that is related just to Cash's PIC number 1 as a PIC that sits on the guitar. This is just concrete that he would be fastened to as he stands there or sits there.
Is that circular pad that he's sitting on going to be new?
The pad that is there, right here, this concrete pad. It does have a little circular formation as it's shown here and comes down to another circular formation. So we are expecting that we would place him up in this area of that circular formation of that pad.
Okay. For what it's worth, one of the very coolest features of the pick is the surface that it's sitting on. And we maybe don't need to replicate that exactly, but similar to my comments about the school district, if the opportunity presents itself, grooving that pavement so that it looks like he's sitting on a record would be pretty awesome.
Okay, thank you.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Rathel. No questions. I do have a question, Tom. You mentioned that he has some sort of, kind of artistic license to make changes or whatever. The final product may not look like what's in there. In the master plan where it shows a picture of the pick, there is some etching or something that was depicted that did not happen with the final product, which I think is a bit disappointing in many people's eyes. Was that kind of a similar thing? Did we think that there was going to be etching on the pick and then it didn't? It was the artist's decision not to do it? Or I'm a little bit concerned, knowing that it may not come out looking like that.
Good question. I think the two pieces are distinctly different where there would not be that situation. I think there's a couple things in this concept piece that you're looking at here that Adon is looking to create where it's very life-size. It's like a moment of you standing next to Johnny Cash as he's sitting on there. So he really wants to capture that embrace of him in Folsom in 1968 as he sat on a stool as he did with many of his performances. So I don't see that being where, the guitar is going to disappear. No. Okay. The stool may have some modifications to it. We don't know yet, but that's stuff that we build into the contract. We work with the artist, and he keeps us regularly involved as to what his progress is of the art sculpture as he's moving forward. As it relates to Cash's pick number one, I'm in discussion with the artist about the concerns that you just brought up and some of the concerns that we've heard within the community to see what our available options are. As of right now, he hasn't provided me with what those could be, if any. One of the things that at the staff level we're looking at is identifying a little bit more with the signage that is out there. Right now we have the large square signs that say Johnny Cash Trail and then what the art experience is, and maybe looking to modify those signage to include a little bit more of the story of the art experience itself, what the sculpture is sharing or showing as part of this story a little bit. But if I have when I get more information about what the artist may or may propose, then that's where I would bring that forth to staff and you, of course.
Got it. Okay.
Mayor Aquino, if I may, I did ask staff about that because I had been on that committee and that was the vision all along. There would be writing on it. And it did, I believe it went back to the Arts Commission when he requested to make that change and it was approved.
Correct. You're correct, Councilmember Leary. So we did read the staff report and there was a visual without the lettering on that went to commission. And then also there was a staff report and a rendering without the lettering that went to city council.
Thank you, because I was surprised as everybody when I came for the grand unveiling of the sculpture to see that was not what we had initially approved.
Okay. We don't have any requests to speak on this item, so we will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this, and with thanks to the latest in a long line of excellent assemblymen that have represented the city of Folsom. So thanks to Josh Hoover, and I recommend approval of this.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Rathel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes. Next item, please.
Okay, that
Thank you,
takes,
Tom.
that takes you to new business. Item number 17, this is appointment of at-large members to the Folsom Historic District Commission.
Okay, I think we can dispense with our normal ballot because we only have a handful of applications here. So for the category business owner within the Sutter Street sub-area, we only have one applicant, which is Lisa Gomez. I will entertain a motion to appoint her to the Historic District Commission.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Rathel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino?
Yes. Then for resident of the Historic District, we have two applicants. One is Kathleen Cole, the incumbent. The other is Rosa Valles. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So I would entertain a motion to appoint one of them, either Kathleen Cole or Rosa Valles, to the Historic District Commission.
I'll move to appoint Kathleen Cole.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Leary,
Yes.
Raythel,
Yes.
Rohrbaugh,
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes, and we did not receive any applicants for the historic preservation category, so I would suggest that we direct staff to reopen that item, accept applications, and if Ms. Valles thinks that she, can satisfy that, she could certainly apply for
Yeah, can you explain, just so I know too, who qualifies for that?
This one's a little bit tricky because there are very few people that actually have some kind of a degree and formal certification. And so it's really the experience. When we talked about how this membership was initially identified with Candy Miller and others, I think there was just agreement that someone could demonstrate through their resume that they had qualifications and interest, but there's no set criteria for this category.
So pretty much anyone could apply and just in their notes say, this is my passion. Okay.
That's
So
correct.
Maybe we could put it back out there with that kind of opening but yeah, anyone can apply. Because it would be nice to have the seat filled.
Yeah, for sure. Do you need anything else official on that other than just direction to?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll reopen that, give it probably a month just with the holidays for people to apply, and then we'll find a closing date and bring it back to the council.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Okay, next item will be item number 18. This is resolution number 11525, establishing the 2026 Ad Hoc Charter Review Committee.
Great, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This item is to consider creating a new ad hoc committee for a charter review. The city charter was adopted on June 5th, 1990, and then on July 11th, 2000, the city council established an ad hoc charter advisory committee. And so in some ways, we're recommending following similar pattern in forming a committee for this go-around. We think it's appropriate, being the time that has passed. And then also a recent court case pointed out that we have some language that could utilize some cleanup as it relates to commissions and their advisory capacity in relationship with the council. And there may be other items that the committee may want to recommend that the city council consider. So just as a reminder, the ad hoc Charter Advisory Committee that was established in 2000 was made up of 2 council members at the time. It was former Mayor Robert Holderness and former Mayor Glenn Fate. Then there were 7 additional voting members. Each council member selected 1 member, and 2 additional members on the were appointed on the recommendation of city staff. Then serving mayor and city manager served as non-voting members of the committee, and then the city attorney served as a legal advisor to the committee. City staff is recommending that the council create this ad hoc charter review committee and approve resolution 11525 with 1 modification. We're recommending, although we appreciate the opportunity, as mentioned in the previous one, to have staff recommend some members for appointing for that. If the council decides 2 council members and then they appoint another 5, and then we have staff support related to that, we think that would be sufficient. So that concludes my report. Well, actually, as far as timeline, so if the council were to move forward with this, it would be my expectation that we'd have to move pretty expeditiously after, the holiday season, where we form the committee and staff meets with the committee and presents different options, and we have discussions and dialogue. And in order to make this worthwhile, to be able to get to a decision point whether or not the city council wants to place something on the November 2026 ballot. And so in order to do that, our recommendation would be to complete the review of the committee and to have a final recommendation from the committee to the city council in May of 2026, so that it would give the city time to communicate with the Sacramento County Elections Office to properly place this on the ballot for November 2026. So that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the city manager?
So if this passes this evening, are you anticipating that the appointments for the committee would be made at the first January meeting?
Yeah, that would be the goal, yes.
Okay,
So, are you,
no, that's good.
so you're recommending 2 council members and then 5
Others.
appointed members by each council member, and then it would be 2 to 3 staff members, is that
Yeah, so the staff members wouldn't be
voting?
voting members, we're just there to assist. And so I would anticipate that the final recommendation would be, supported by staff, but authored by the committee, which would be made up of the 2 council members and the 5 appointed representatives by the council.
One other question, sorry. So in the interim, when we have a little bit more time and not a long agenda, if we have time to submit some questions about the charter, things that we think should probably be addressed, who would we address those to? Would it be the city attorney or you? Or both,
Well, I guess
probably?
what I would suggest, and obviously the council can decide differently, is that once the committee is formed, that the council, if they had any particular ideas, they could submit it to the committee to review and explore if that would be something that would be worthwhile or not. And then they could include kind of a response in the report, whether they were recommending that this is the way to go, or if they should modify it or come up with some other alternative.
Okay, and I guess that might include public that was interested in wildlife.
I would expect as much, right? As we publicize this, I think we would welcome, the charter isn't particularly lengthy. It's not like a 500-page document of some sort. So the variety of options for change isn't super significant, but just things such as the change in state law related to elections of our council members have changed. So cleanup language to coincide with current law may be appropriate.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have no request to speak on this item, so I will entertain a motion.
I will move approval of resolution number 11525.
Second.
And just as a clarification, the modification of the resolution that was included in the packet had 2 additional members, if it's okay to exclude those that were recommended by staff. So it would be 2 council members, and then 5 members appointed by each, 1 member appointed by each council member. In the resolution, it also included language that staff would recommend 2 additional members. We're suggesting that that be excluded.
Okay, with the modification described by the city manager, an ad hoc committee of 2 city council members and 5 others, 1 each appointed by the council
Second.
members.
Second.
I just got a point of clarification. Sorry. Now you said 2 council members, but then we also have the mayor and city manager serving on there according to the staff report. So we're going to have 3.
That was the old version.
Well, I did.
We're going to have 3 council members.
I
there?
did say that. So we cannot do that.
Okay.
So it would be 2 council members in the city manager as staff support, and then the makeup of the 1 appointee per council member after that.
Got it.
My motion stands.
Somebody seconded it,
Second
right?
stands.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh? Yes. Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes.
Okay, item number 19. This is resolution number 11526, establishing the 2026 American River Canyon School District Boundary Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay, and I will take this one. As you know, there is a portion of American River Canyon, so I don't know if we need to modify the resolution in terms of that. It's not all of American River Canyon. The portion of American River Canyon that is west of American River Canyon Drive and south of, right? South?
Santa Juanita?
South of Oak Avenue Parkway, is in the San Juan Unified School District. There is currently an agreement that has recently been formalized that allows students in that area to go either to their home schools in San Juan or to do an interdistrict transfer to Folsom Cordova. However, that motion passed 3-2. 2 school board members voted against it. And with the enrollment issues, the impaction in Folsom Cordova, there is a possibility in the future that those students living in Folsom but in the San Juan district would not have room to go to a Folsom Cordova school. There is a process by which the city of Folsom could request to annex that area into the Folsom Cordova School District. We would like to appoint an ad hoc committee to explore that process to see if the residents in that area even have an interest. If they don't, we're done. But if they do, then we can explore the process. So the resolution talks about council members. I am proposing that it be myself and Councilmember Kozlowski. It's his district. I'm a former school board member. I'm proposing that we get rid of B, one appointee by each council member. We don't need that. C, instead of parents of students living in the American River Canyon neighborhood, I think it should just be residents living in the American River Canyon neighborhood. And I am proposing Tom Scott, Kelly Dudley, and Kendall Gilmore. Kelly and Kendall both have kids in Folsom Cordova schools and are interested in this process. So
Do we need to appoint the individual members at
no,
this
we would not be
moment?
doing that. What's that?
Do we need to agree on the individual members right now at this, unlike the previous
yes, I am putting forward 5 names: myself, Councilmember Kozlowski, Tom Scott, Kelly Dudley, and Kendall Gilmore.
And then I'm assuming you would have staff support from the district and the city as needed, but they wouldn't necessarily serve on the committee?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have any requests this
I
week
mean,
on this item. Go ahead.
do you know where these 3 members stand? I mean, I don't know anything about them, so I'm not, I mean, I could definitely approve you and Mike, but I don't,
So
I
Tom
feel a little bit,
Scott, Tom Scott does not have children, but he is
do you
just
feel like it's a
longtime
wide
resident.
range of,
Kelly and Kendall both have children in Folsom Cordova school districts, but they are interested in their children continuing in Folsom Cordova school districts. And if that means that they need to be annexed, they are in support of that.
and then the one that doesn't have any kids, just a different perspective, or he,
Yeah, he's just a longtime Folsom resident, very, politically experienced.
okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, and he happens to live randomly geographically at the absolute center of that area.
No, well, that's,
So do they all 3 live in that area that
do.
you're describing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any potential for conflict of interest?
None of them work for the school district.
Okay,
Either school district.
I'm just asking that question because usually when we're appointing
good one,
people
yeah.
to something, we get applications and a little bit of a history on them.
Yeah.
As was stated by the mayor, I think the purpose here is to explore whether there is a majority of the residents in that area that actually would like us to pursue a boundary change. That remains to be seen. And if that were to come to pass, we'd have to bring all of that back here for us all to take a
So,
look at.
so that leads me to one more question. And that is, would there be a poll of those, of all of the residents there with students in the district or of the district as a whole?
Well, first, the idea would be just to gauge from those residents in that affected neighborhood, do they have an interest in being annexed into the Folsom Cordova School District? If yes, then we can explore the process. If no, then we're done.
Right, but I mean, well, these 3 residents probably already are leaning to that. I just wonder if there was going to be sort of a broader outreach to get.
Yes,
the
we would want
temperature
to
for
pull
others.
everyone in that affected
No, we're
neighborhood.
going to jam it down everybody's throat.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah, that never happens.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
just a reminder so the charter says that the mayor can appoint an ad hoc committee with the concurrence of the council, which is why I'm putting forward 5 names and you can say yay or nay.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
yep. So my motion is to approve resolution number 11526 with the change that Councilmember Kozlowski and myself get rid of section 1B and then change parents of students living in the American River to residents and put that be Tom Scott, Kelly Dudley, and Kendall Gilmore.
And I seconded because I'd have a hard time finding somebody in my district to serve on that ad hoc committee.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary?
Yes.
Rayful?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes, thank you very much. Next item, please.
Okay, we're skipping over 20 because we've already addressed that. So it takes us to item number 21. This will be resolution number 11518, authorizing the city manager to execute an MOU between the city and the Folsom Middle Management Group.
Are you doing one presentation or 4 presentations, Allison?
I'm doing one presentation,
Beautiful.
combining the 4.
Okay, sounds good.
Make it as succinct as possible tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, so just for the record, then this will be items 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Mayor, members of the council, Allison Garcia, Human Resources Director. Tonight, I'll be providing an overview of the labor negotiations we've completed over the last several months. This was a very involved process, one that required a great deal of effort and collaboration with the city and our employee bargaining groups. Our focus throughout was to maintain fiscal responsibility while also ensuring the city remains competitive in the areas of recruitment and retention. The negotiation team appreciates the council's thoughtful dialogue and support, which played a key role in helping us reach agreements that responsibly balance the city's financial realities with the needs of our employees. I'm pleased to share that we've successfully concluded negotiations with 4 bargaining groups whose contracts are set to expire at the end of 2025. These groups include Folsom Mid-Management, Folsom Police Officers Association, Folsom Police Management Association, and the Folsom Fire Department Middle Management Employees. Each agreement is grounded in objective data, particularly the market surveys conducted to understand where compensation stands relative to similar agencies. To walk you through the process, we began by reviewing existing contracts to identify areas that required updating or clarification. This served as our baseline for the discussions ahead. Next, we completed comprehensive market salary studies. This gave us clear understanding of how our total comp packages compare across the region. That analysis became a critical foundation for determining whether market adjustments were warranted and to what degree. Once we had that information, we began meeting with the unions to exchange proposals. These proposals were shaped by both the data and broader priorities of the city and its residents. Throughout these meetings, both sides of the table clarified priorities, listened to concerns, and worked collaboratively through solutions. After exploring options with each group, we were ultimately able to reach tentative agreements that address organizational needs and employee priorities. For the Folsom Middle Management Group, we reached a 3-year deal covering January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028. This agreement includes a 3% COLA in each year of the contract. In addition, positions that were identified as being below market in our salary survey will receive a 5% market adjustment. We also included an annual boot allowance of a maximum of $325 per eligible employee. Another change was an increase to the health insurance cash in lieu payment, which will increase from $250 to $300 per month. Beyond the financial components, we worked with the group to finalize several non-economic language changes that help clarify processes and improve consistency. With the Folsom Police Officers Association, we again reached a 3-year agreement covering 2026 through 2028. This contract includes a 3% COLA each year, as well as market adjustments for positions deemed below market. This results in a 19.1% compounded increase over 3 years. We also made enhancements to educational incentive pay for professional staff, including records, communication, dispatch, and animal control employees. Detective pay was another area addressed. Officers assigned to the detective division will now receive an additional 5% differential for that assignment. As with the other bargaining groups, we also completed a series of non-economic and clarifying language updates. The agreement with the Police Management Association is also a 3-year contract spanning the same period, January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028. This agreement mirrors several of the themes in the previous contracts, a 3% COLA in each year, a total of 5% market adjustment split across years 1 and 2, and a set of non-economic language updates. For the Fire Department's Middle Management Group, we also reached a 3-year agreement for 2026 through 2028. This group will receive a 2.5% COLA each year of the contract. The COLA is slightly lower than some of the other groups due to factors specific to this unit and its marketing position. One of the key financial changes in this agreement is an increase to the city's premium contribution for dental and vision insurance from the current 80% to 100%. This group also worked with us to finalize a variety of non-economic and clarification language updates that help support consistent application of the agreement. With the completion of these negotiations, the city now has all 6 bargaining groups under multi-year contracts until 2028. Having all groups under contract provides important organizational stability. It also strengthens our ability to plan for the coming years, both financially and operationally. With that, staff recommends approval of resolutions number 11518, 11519, 11520, and 11521, authorizing the city manager to execute the memoranda of understanding between the city of Folsom and each of the bargaining groups. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you to you and your team for all the work. Any questions for Allison? Any questions over here? Okay, we do need 4 separate motions, please.
I'll move to approve resolution number 11518.
No,
Resolution.
no, just one at a time.
You want to go
Okay,
one at
yep.
a time? Okay.
Yep. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino?
Yes.
I'll move resolution number 11519.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino?
Yes.
Whose turn?
Mike's turn. Or either one.
I'll move resolution number 11520.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council member Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino?
Yes.
I'll move to approve resolution number 11521.
I'll second.
Before we end all these,
Member Raythel moves.
Did he move? I
before
couldn't
we
hear.
end on all of these, I know
We've
we
all
have
spent a lot of hours there.
I just want to say thank you for all the work. What a treat that you're going to have almost 2 years off. But a lot of work went into this, and thank you to our city manager as well. So I think we had a really great result.
Excellent work.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
And Aquino?
Yes.
And thank you for such a succinct presentation.
Allison
pleasure.
wins the award tonight.
Well, I have one more presentation.
All right, well, next will be item number 25. This is resolution number 11527 to approve and adopt a citywide pay schedule as required by CalPERS and establish new salary tables for the City of Folsom Executive Management Team.
Mayor, members of the council, Allison Garcia, your Human Resources Director. Tonight's presentation is prompted by a CalPERS requirement that all employers maintain an adopted pay schedule. We are updating the city's schedule to reflect salary ranges previously approved by the city council through various collective bargaining agreements as shown in attachment 2 of the staff report, and to introduce a new step-based structure for the executive management team and contract employees. The CalPERS requirements are outlined in the staff report and on these 2 slides. If council approves this pay schedule tonight, it will be posted on the City of Folsom's Human Resources website. Over the past several months, we have negotiated with our 6 bargaining groups, all of whom have step-based salary schedules. In contrast, the executive management team and contract employees have only minimum and maximum ranges without clearly defined steps. To promote transparency and align with other classifications throughout the city, we are introducing step-based salary tables for these positions, bringing them into alignment with the citywide compensation framework. The compensation process for the executive management team followed the same approach used for all bargaining groups. We engaged Bryce Consulting to conduct a comprehensive total compensation survey, collecting market data from comparable agencies and similarly situated positions. Using this data, we evaluated each position for competitiveness, applied market adjustments where salaries were below market, and incorporated cost of living adjustments largely applied citywide. Finally, we developed step-based salary ranges for all EMT and contract positions, aligning with the structure already in place for bargaining groups to ensure consistency and transparency across the organization. As part of the proposed tables, a 3% cost of living adjustment is included in 2025, 2026, and 2027, consistent with most of our multi-year union contracts. Market adjustments are recommended for positions identified in the survey as below market, ensuring that salaries remain competitive and support internal equity. While this step-based structure may feel new or unusual for EMT and contract employees, it provides a clear, transparent, and consistent framework for setting salaries, just as we do with bargaining groups. With that, staff recommends approval of Resolution 11527, a resolution to approve and adopt a citywide pay schedule as required by CalPERS and establish new salary tables for the City of Folsom Executive Management Team.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Allison? Any over here?
Here's your big moment.
All right, this is Justin's turn then.
I'll move resolution number 11527.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please.
I was worried there
do
for a
want to make a
second.
comment on
What's
this.
that?
I do want to make a comment, just for the public, because we didn't have a discussion here, but we did have a good discussion and had lots of questions. So I think the whole council really thought through this and then I thank you again to staff for presenting the reasons why and how this will help us move forward.
I also appreciate these being not on our consent calendar, so thank you for giving a presentation so we air these to the public and make sure we're doing our due diligence.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Okay, council members Leary.
Yes.
Raythel.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us to our last item this evening. This is selection of the mayor and vice mayor for 2026.
All right. Well, thank you for the honor and privilege of allowing me to serve as mayor for this past year. For 2026, I would like to nominate Vice Mayor Justin Raythel to serve as mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary.
Yes.
Raythel.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes, and I would like to nominate Councilmember Anna Rohrbaugh to serve as vice mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Leary.
Yes.
Raythel.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes, congratulations. We have traditionally allowed the former mayor to continue the meeting, so with your permission, I will see this through to the end.
Absolutely.
Okay, that takes us to city manager reports.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. First off, I would like to welcome our new police chief, Chief Adam Green. Welcome to the city of Folsom. We're really excited to have him here. He comes to the city with an abundance of experience in the law enforcement field, serving previously for 24 years with the Sacramento Police Department, most recently as their deputy chief. So we're just really excited to have someone of Chief Green's caliber joining our team. And, combined with his leadership and the wonderful men and women of the Folsom Police Department, I think we're just in really good hands. As a reminder, we have night work scheduled at Oak Avenue Parkway in East Bidwell. The City of Folsom Utilities Department will conduct night work on the sewer infrastructure project. Work is underway and continuing through early Friday morning, December 12th. Work hours are from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Crews will install a pipe liner on existing sewer mains located on Oak Avenue Parkway near East Bidwell Street. And Basin 4 Sewer Phase 1 project is a City of Folsom wastewater capital improvement project. It focuses on rehabilitating and improving existing sewer lines where aging infrastructure needs upgrades to maintain reliable service. We have a design reveal for the Benevento Family Park. And so that we encourage folks who are interested in that unveiling to come to the design reveal that will take place on Wednesday, December 10th at 5:30 p.m. And it will be held in the library at Vista del Lago High School, located at 1970 Broadstone Parkway. And want to congratulate our finance team, our finance director, Stacy Tamani. They've earned a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for its fiscal year 2023-2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. This certificate is the highest honor in government accounting and financial reporting. I appreciate their efforts that went into reaching that level. Also, the Folsom Holiday Lights Contest. There's still time to enter your home, neighborhood, or business in the annual Folsom Holiday Lights Contest. You need to register by December 12th at our website, www.folsom.ca.us/Holiday Lights Contest. And just as a way of information, our fire department will be conducting training, hosting a regional rescue training drill on the historic Truss Bridge this week. So if you see weird things hanging from the bridge, it's training. So please don't call it in. Just a narrow pathway will remain open for bicyclists that may need to walk their bikes through that activity area. And then on another note, the Utility Commission will be continuing public discussions about water and sewer rates at the Tuesday, December 16th Utility Commission meeting. The meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers at City Hall at 15 Natoma Street at this location. The water and sewer rate study will prepare 5- and 10-year financial models to evaluate operations and maintenance needs, capital improvements, and revenue requirements. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Kozlowski?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. Congratulations to the Folsom Historic District Association for putting on an amazing party 2 days in a row. One for the Christmas tree lighting, which was spectacular as always, and then the following Sunday for a arts and crafts show that was really very entertaining and fun. I want to thank the Folsom Police Department for getting the marathon off safely. That's one of the #1 tourist attractions that we have here in Folsom every year. 7,000 runners and their families come to town to run from here to the state capitol, and it's a good opportunity for us to put our best foot forward, and the police department's the one that does it for us. So thank you. Welcome, Chief Green. Congratulations to Justin and Anna. You guys are going to do a great job. And just last quick thing, the Vista Del Lago and Folsom High School cross-country teams qualified for the state championship cross-country meet this year. And the girls and the boys from Vista and the boys from Folsom performed excellently on the Saturday right after Thanksgiving, and with young teams, which will be right back there next year. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor-elect Rathel?
Well, I have some good news. I did get appointed to by the Sac Valley Division for Cal Cities to the Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee. So I'll be serving there for 2026, really focused on trying to get our fair share of sales tax revenues and advocating for smaller cities like Folsom. I also wanted to take a moment and thank Mayor Aquino for her outstanding leadership and service to our community over the last year. We've got a small token of appreciation that your council colleagues and city manager got you. It's maybe to your favorite restaurant down on Sutter Street right now,
Ooh, thank you.
Bella Macy.
Yes.
So we hope you enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
You definitely deserve it. Sarah's represented our city with grace, warmth, and eloquence. She's always speaking from the heart and sharing personal stories that remind us of who we are as a community. She's been approachable and accessible, holding open office hours and welcoming conversations with anyone who wanted to share an idea or concern, even when they wanted to share those concerns on Folsom Chat. Sarah builds relationships and works effectively across the Sacramento region, partnering and advocating to improve regional, state, and even federal governance. And here at home, she's fostered genuine collegiality amongst our council colleagues. During a year of transition for our city's leadership team, Sarah also served as Folsom's chief morale officer, encouraging staff, steadying the ship, and reminding everyone why we love serving this community. So Sarah, thank you for leading with heart, humor, and humanity. It's been an honor to serve alongside you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to my colleagues for trusting me for next year. And thank you for serving Anna next year.
Thank you. Vice Mayor-elect Warble?
Thank you. Thank you for your service and your professionalism this year, Sarah. Really appreciate it. I look forward to serving with you, Justin, as well. You've done a fine job as vice mayor. And, thank you for everyone else's vote and trust as well. And I just want to say happy holidays to everyone. We won't see you until the new year, well into the new year. Might be happy about that. And Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Thank you. Councilmember Leary?
Thank you. And I want to also welcome Chief Green. I'm happy to see him here and looking forward to working with him in the future. I'd like to thank all of the staff for putting this agenda together, all the material, and streamlining the presentations to make them very clear and move this, what looked like an 8-hour meeting along. I'd also like to thank Sarah and Justin for serving this year and engaging all of us in participating in the decisions the city has been making. We as a whole have had some input for. I do want to make a little announcement about the Folsom City Zoo. And if you haven't been to Wild Nights and Holiday Lights, there are 2 weekends left. There's actually 4 days in a row. It's the Thursday through Sundays over the next 2 weekends. So the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, the 18th, 19th, 21st, and 22nd. This is one of the major fundraisers and one of the most fun things that happens at the zoo to take your families to. They are currently also undertaking a project to raise the funds to replace the veterinary trailer, and they were able to raise on Giving Tuesday around $28,000. The project will cost somewhere around $120,000 to $150,000 to complete. So you can find more information about those two zoo-related things on the Friends of Folsom Zoo online, and sign up for attending the Wild Nights or donating to the zoo trailer. Finally, I was also appointed to a League of California Cities environmental quality policy program, which is something that I've been passionate about for years, and that's maintaining the open spaces, a lot of the things that people come to Folsom for. So I'm looking forward to serving on that this coming year as well. So thanks again this evening. Everybody have a happy holiday and stay safe.
Great, thank you. I also want to welcome Chief Green. We're happy you're here. I also want to welcome, looks like we have quite a few high school students in the audience today who I have a sneaking suspicion waited to the last minute to fulfill their American government requirement to attend an in-person meeting. But you made it. And this could have been a much, much longer meeting. We made it go very fast so that you wouldn't have to be here all night on a school night. So with that, I do want to adjourn in memory of a longtime Folsom resident who passed away, Barbara Baker. We're joined by some of her family members back there in the corner. And so I just want to read some of this obituary for you. Barbara Baker passed away in her home on October 15th at the age of 99 and 5 months. She was born and raised in Folsom. She had fond memories of old steam trains coming through town. As they passed, she waved to the conductor in the caboose who threw candy to her. She lived during the Great Depression and recalled hobos showing up at the back door of her home asking for work. Her mother made sandwiches for them and then sent them on their way. She attended Granite Grammar School and remembered being taught in class to save money. Each week, the children brought in their pennies or whatever change they had, which was then deposited in the Bank of America on Sutter Street. Barbara attended the University of the Pacific and then went on to nursing school at UCLA. She met her husband, Robert Baker, while attending a dance between the nursing students and the law students from Loyola Law School. She married Robert in 1948, and they were married for 52 years until his death in 2000. In the 1960s, she assisted her husband with his real estate business on Sutter Street. After her husband's death, she continued to manage the family business for another 25 years. She will be remembered as a strong, independent, and hardworking woman who was savvy in the business world. Her greatest legacy was to preserve the Muir House in Folsom. She will be greatly missed by her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. So to Barbara's family, we send you our deepest sympathies. We thank your mom for her many contributions to the city of Folsom, and we will adjourn in memory of Barbara Baker at 7:46 p.m. Thank you very much.